Hey guys, it's your big dreamer and doer G Dinero coming to you today with another TA Tuesday. Today we're going to talk about how both Bitcoin and MicroStrategy are up. Solana somewhat up, and Tesla took a little bit of a digger this last week. But first, remember, none of this is tax, legal, financial, investment advice. It's your buddy G Dinero helping you increase your financial literacy to help put you and your family on that path to financial freedom. So let's jump into the charts. All right, as usual, we're going to start out with the Bitcoin TABI model, and the TABI model is still orange. It did not flip back to yellow. I thought it might with a little bit of dip that we saw last week, but we rebounded right back up to that $110,000, almost $111,000 level, keeping the Bitcoin TABI model orange for the time being, light orange. If we flip on over to the daily chart, and I kind of have it zoomed into just what's happened since April 7th. I think people don't realize how far we've come, but on April 7th, we were down there at $74,420. $74,420. We went on to hit an all-time high on May 22nd of $112,000 and just spiked back up to about $110,600. So what we see with this, and it's not shown on the chart here, but the short-term holder realized price is right around $96,000. Why is that important? That's the floor right now. That short-term holder realized price tends to be about where the floor is, and that's also pretty congruent with where the 200-day moving average is. The 200-day moving average right around $95,000. So you could say that that $95,000 to $96,000 level is the strong support that we currently do not want to break below, right? That's where we don't want to go below that. If we were to look down here and we looked at the 1 year simple moving average, believe it or not, that's already jumped up to $81,800. $81,800. So the 200-day is down there at $95,000. The 1 year is at almost $82,000 right now. That's starting to put in where the floor will be more than likely for this next bear market if we were to go into one. Now, where's the resistance to the upside? The resistance to the upside is breaking through this 110 to 112. There is a lot of short selling going on right there. You can see there's a ton of volume, this yellow, this big blob of yellow over here on the right-hand side of the screen. That will act as resistance. You notice we spiked up to it, pulled back. So that right there is acting as resistance. You notice this support box that I had drawn in here. I drew that support box, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. But you notice that we came down and closed right at the bottom of that support box, opened the next day on it. Yeah, we wicked down to the 50-day moving average. But that support is very strong there, right at $100,000, $101,000. If we were to lose that support, dropping down to 94 to 98, that's going to be from, 95 to 98. That's going to be from your 200-day moving average up to where your 61.8% fib level is. Right now on the daily, we are a little bit overheated. Mean reverted to the upside slightly. Global liquidity, that's this yellow line at the bottom. It just keeps going up. They just keep pumping more money into the system. And so if you take a look at the Bitcoin 4-hour chart, on the Bitcoin 4-hour chart, here we are, same things being shown. We are in this uptrend, this structural uptrend that we've been in since April 7th. You can see how we've basically glided up, took a break, glided up, took a break, glided up, took a break. It's going to be key to break through this all-time high. We don't want to do a double top here at 112 and have that be it, and all of a sudden it starts selling off from there. Do I anticipate that happening? No. Where do I think it's going? Well, quite honestly, I think we're going up to this next Fibonacci level, which is 120 to 126. I think we're going to see this cup and handle target that's been on the chart. I don't ever zoom the chart out like this to show you guys that, but that 125 level's been on my chart for 2 years now, I think, a year and a half. That was identified. I don't remember who online identified it first, but I remember seeing that cup and handle, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it, and it's starting to play out to that target level. That's also a level between 120 and 125 where a majority, well, all holders of Bitcoin at that point would be in profit, right? Because we're in price discovery mode, but where it's enough profit that it makes it worthwhile for people to start considering selling. So does that mean it's the top at 120 to 125? No, but does that mean we're just going to blast right through that level? No, I don't think we will. I think there'll be some selling going on where people say, enough is enough. I made from that point, from 15,600, the low back in 2022, that's about an 8x. Some people are going to be 8 or 9x. Some people are going to be really happy with that at that point. You'll notice on the 4-hour, we went from being mean reverted to the downside last Friday. And then if we look back to Saturday, the week, a week and a half ago, we were considerably mean reverted to the downside. We bottomed out last Thursday and Friday during a little squabble between a couple of individuals, and we rebounded like a champ, exploding to the upside. Now we're mean reverted almost 2 standard deviations to the upside. So expect it to take a little bit of a breather here, maybe go sideways through the end of the week, trickle up or down, but I don't expect any major league fireworks because we are up against some areas of resistance here. On the Solana Bitcoin daily chart, this is the whole picture going all the way back to 2021. We made this high. The highest that Solana ever was versus Bitcoin was back here in September of 2021, where it was at 0.0047. That means for every 1 Solana that you would sell, you would get 0.0047 Bitcoin. If you sold 10 Solana, you'd get 0.047. If you sold 100, you'd get 0.47 or almost a half a Bitcoin for every 100 Solana that you sold. We bottomed out down here at 0.00048. So put a 0 in front of all those numbers. Basically, by a factor of 10, it pulled back. And the highest we got up to on this current cycle is on Tuesday, the 19th of March, 2024. So it's been over a year since we hit 0.0031, and we've been stuck in this range. You see, I talk about it every week. We just trade sideways, and Solana continues to lose ground to Bitcoin. I'm not saying Solana is dead. I'm not saying Solana is bad. What I'm saying is Bitcoin has been the narrative this cycle, not altcoins. Ethereum did poorly against Bitcoin. All the other altcoins did poorly. This has really been a Bitcoin and stablecoin rally over the last year to year and a half, right? There's been times where Solana spiked, like back here in around Inauguration Day, and that's what caused this spike up versus Bitcoin. But all in all, we're below the 200-day moving average. We're below the 100-day moving average. We're below the 50-day moving average. We're near the bottom of this channel that we've been in for the last 3 years and just kind of skidding along the bottom. This was an inverted head and shoulders that I kind of identified that really hasn't played out. I'm leaving that on the chart as a target to see if we get back up there. But at 0.002 and above, that may be a time where you want to convert some Solana to Bitcoin. Not financial advice, just kind of giving you an idea of how I plan to increase my Bitcoin stack by using Solana, which should outpace it once it gets going. Maybe when the ETFs come out, etc. So that's a little bit about the Bitcoin Solana pair, but you notice on the mean reversion, it's been flatlined for like 2 months, not going anywhere. Solana on the daily chart, again, pretty much sideways. Yes, slightly up since April, right? We hit the April low of $95 a coin. We spiked up as high as almost 180. But for all intents and purposes, compared to the movement that we're used to with Solana, it's been pretty slow moving. We are currently slightly mean reverted to the downside. RSI is slightly below 50. We're pretty much at the mean for all intents and purposes on the daily. On the 4-hour, we've come off of being mean reverted to the downside. Couple good buying opportunities right here. One at 155, another one down here in the 140 to 150 range. That appears to be the bottom. 150 is very strong support right now for Solana. Not saying it couldn't go lower, so don't go YOLO into some crazy perp trade. But we do need to reclaim this 200-day moving average. We have not been above the 200-day, like conclusively above the 200-day moving average in 3 months, since all the way back in February, right? We lost that 200-day moving average. We've retested it 1, 2, 3, multiple times along the way. And every time we get close to it, we reject and pull back. You'll notice that we are still grinding up in this upward channel that we've been in since back on April 7th. We are grinding up in that near the bottom side of that channel, and we poked out of this short-term one. So me personally, I could see going ahead and getting rid of that channel right now because I don't know that we necessarily reversed direction and kept going down. We rebounded right here on the 100-day moving average perfectly. You see a perfect rebound right there. RSI was below 30 a couple of times. Mean reversion was well below 2.5 standard deviations. Here it was over 1 standard deviation below the norm. All those are buying signals saying it is oversold, time to be bought up, okay? SUI, real quick on that. SUI is basically battling with the 200-day moving average. We lost the 200-day moving average at the end of May after a great rally to the upside. We were well below the 200-day moving average, rallied all the way up to almost $4.32, $4.30 actually, and then came ripping all the way back down to the 50% fib, bouncing on it perfectly right here. A few green dots, and a couple buy signals. Great buying opportunity down here at around $3, and now we've rebounded back up to about $3.50, and we're battling with the 61.8% fib level that we've been battling with on and off since April. Tesla daily chart. Tesla hasn't looked good since December. It's been in a general downward trend, making a series of lower highs. So if I were to kind of look right here, that high is lower than that high. This low was a lower low, a lower high, a lower low. We did tend to reverse direction a bit right now, but this high is still lower than this last one. So what I'd like to see is us to blast back up and get back above this high back here. Once we do that, then we know that we've conclusively broken out of this downward trend that we've been in with short-term trend that we've been in with Tesla. If you were to look at the long-term chart, and this is a daily, if I pull out and I take a look over the long-term, you can see here this long-term channel. We're right at the midpoint of it, guys. So it's not like all hope is lost. It depends on what your time frame is. Do you need the money from the Tesla today, tomorrow, next week? Then you're going to want to pay attention to the shorter term trends right now. What about over the course of the next 5 to 10 years? Keep an eye on the long trend. That's what's most important. So you've got to set your time frames to your horizon with your goals and what you're looking to achieve out of these assets. That's why I zoomed out to give you the bigger picture on the short term. If we flip on over here to the 4 hour, on the 4 hour, we're mean reverted to the downside. So look at the difference that the time frame makes. On the daily, we are mean reverted to the upside. We're coming off of what I would call selling signals up here in this range. And on the 4 hour, those selling signals have already passed, and we're already now on to buying signals. In fact, the RSA dropped to a level that we hadn't seen on the 4 hour in ages. If I line that up, we haven't seen those kind of levels since back in March, all the way back here in October of last year. That's how far mean reverted we were to the downside on the RSI. Same thing with the mean reversion tool, considerably mean reverted to the downside. You see here some of these support levels that I have and resistance levels. We pulled back perfectly into this area of support that I said we would. The other thing that I took it off of the chart, but if you guys remember, I had a box. I'll use this drawing tool like this. I had a box like that because of the gap up right here. We filled that gap during the little lover's quarrel between DJT and EM last week. When they were kind of fighting and squabbling last week, this thing came back and filled that gap like a champ. So here's the gap up. It was a Friday to a Monday. It gapped up from about 295 to 315. And I'd been saying for the last several weeks of TA Tuesdays, I believe that gap could fill. It could fill. It could fill. We could go down and retest the moving averages. And what did we do? We blasted through the 100, blasted through the 200, even dropped and wicked down through the 50 before finding support on the 50-day moving average, putting in a giant green mean reversion dot, a buy signal, and a trend flip. Guys, that is a confirmed buy signal. That's when you buy. You don't buy up here when it's near all-time highs on a 4-hour chart, despite what anybody else may tell you or what they may do for their portfolios. What you're looking for is you're looking for conclusive buying signals on the time frame that you use regularly. Me, I use the 4-hour regularly. That's the one that I'm going to use for my buying signals, right? The daily chart, I might use that for selling signals if I'm looking to take profits, because I only want to take profits at the best times. I don't want to take profits too soon. And on the flip side, I don't want to buy in on a 1 minute or a 5 minute chart personally, because the trend could then flip against me. I bet on a 1 minute or a 5 minute chart, this area right here looked like it could be a good buy, but I'm going to wait until I get a good buy on a 4-hour chart. So I hope you guys know that that makes sense. This is the current support zone. Current resistance now is going to be between 330 and all the way up to 363 on Tesla. MicroStrategy on the daily chart. This is what it looks like over the last couple years, and it's just been grinding up and to the right. But if I kind of zoom into the more modern history, let's say the last 6-7 months or so, we put in that giant all-time high when the MNAV premium was like at 4, way back here. You can see the MNAV off the charts. Since then, MicroStrategy and really Michael Saylor has figured out how to run this whole MNAV system, guys. He's running the MNAV system like a champ. You know what? I'm going to make a video about that really kind of summarizes all the tools, the levers that he has at his disposal. Those levers being STRK, which is the 8% convertible preferred shares, STRF, which is the 10% cumulative shares that is senior to STRK on the debt stack, and now STRD or Stride, which is junior to the other two. It's a 10% coupon, and it doesn't always have to be paid out if there are times when times are rough. So if Bitcoin's price went down, but basically all three of those are over collateralized, like anywhere from 6 to 12x, and so he can raise debt there and doesn't have to tap the ATM as much as he used to. That's why we're seeing this stock starting to run. It corresponds with the time frame of when those other debt stacks came out, the STRK, then the STRF, then the STRD. So what does all that mean on the chart? Well, we tested the 200-day moving average. That was the last great time that we had with really good buying signals. Made a run all the way up and tested this 78.6% fib level, rejected off of it, and now we're kind of in this no man's land between 61.8% fib and the 78.6% fib. You see this giant block of volume right here from about 370 up to about 400. So we're basically sitting inside that right now, above the 50-day, above the 100-day, above the 200-day moving average. So still very bullish at a time when the MNAV is only about 1.75 to 1.9, depending on how you calculate it, whether you're talking about current shares or fully diluted market cap. Now, if we come over here and we take a look at the 4-hour chart, taking a look at the 4-hour chart on MicroStrategy, here's that killer buying opportunity back here where we bounced on the 200-day moving average. If you had missed this one back here where we bounced on the 200-day moving averages. So we had a few times where we bounced on that 200-day moving average, and if you were still bullish enough about Bitcoin, about the future of MicroStrategy, about what Michael Saylor is engineering, that was your chance to buy. Since then, we had another opportunity here. We were considerably mean reverted to the downside. RSI dropped below 30. We had a crossover of the MACD. So everything is telling you that we're bottoming out right here. You notice we went sideways. In fact, I talked about that in a TA Tuesday. How really we just went sideways for a whole week. That was your opportunity to start to load the boat again. Buy back any covered calls that you had sold, right? Maybe sell a put if you're considering doing that to generate a little bit of income. All of those things are done when we're at local bottoms, and we had dipped below this support zone. So there's a chance we're going to go back to the 50-day moving average right here or to this support zone, but we didn't even get that far. We wicked down and then have basically sat in this zone of support right at the 50% Fibonacci level. We got the 61.8 acting as resistance at 425. 425 is strong resistance, just like 345 was before. 425 is now. We break through 450, and this thing's going to start sailing again because there's not very much volume that transpired above that. I put in the Nvidia daily chart. This is what it looks like on the daily. It's just been like literally vertical since April the 4th or so. And that makes sense. It makes sense because this was when all the tariff tantrum was going on. We hit this all-time high. Tariffs were announced somewhere over in here or went into effect over here. And then it just relations with China and everything got worse and worse and worse. And of course, Nvidia, that's going to play a major factor in their profitability moving forward. So once those started to show signs of being resolved, this thing's just been on a skyrocket ship straight up. It is the narrative of this cycle. Bitcoin, AI, Bitcoin, AI, Bitcoin, AI. Look at my portfolio. Bitcoin, AI. That's it. That's what I'm invested in, right? So if you take a look at that, we got some support and resistance zone support. We blasted out of that. We blasted through this resistance, turned it into support. That's where we are right now. And the current resistance zone is up here at about 144 to 148 or so. You can see it a little bit more clearly here on the 4-hour chart. Again, 4-hour chart just up and to the right, basically running right along the midpoint right now of this linear regression channel. We haven't been mean reverted below zero since April 22nd through the 23rd and 4th. And on the 24th and 25th, we mean reverted to the upside, and we've been mean reverted to the upside ever since. That means this thing has just been consistently going from strength to strength to strength. One thing that you'll notice though is we're making a little bit lower highs on the mean reversion tool. So this is a bit of what's called if you look at that, that's a bearish divergence. The price is still going up. So the price here is higher than it was back here. But if you look at the mean reversion, and I kind of made it a little bit bigger so you can see it, we're losing strength. So we're making higher prices on a weaker move, basically. That tends to be called a bearish divergence. Could indicate that there'd be a little bit of a sell-off or a cooling with Nvidia as things simmer for a little bit. So I expect us to kind of stay below this 145 to 150 for a little bit as it calms down. Last but not least, moving over to the MicroStrategy Tesla chart. That's the last one I typically show. On MicroStrategy Tesla, you notice we broke below the channel. And everybody was wondering, is that it? Is Tesla going to outperform MicroStrategy indefinitely? Am I wrong that I moved my Tesla into MicroStrategy? And the answer is no, because if you moved 100 MicroStrategy into Tesla up here, you would have gotten 149 Tesla. Down here, if you took those 149 Tesla and moved them back into MicroStrategy, you would have gotten 149 MicroStrategy. You have 49 more MicroStrategy than you started with literally less than a month ago. So it shows you this model, this pair trading model works. If you have questions about it, I made an entire video about it that I'll post up here so you guys can see it. I will also extend that offer to you to take one of my courses where you can learn all about pair trading and TA and charts and everything else. But guys, it made it right back up to the midpoint of the channel. And I told you in previous videos, sometimes we're going to tag the top of the channel. That's when you go MicroStrategy to Tesla. Other times we're going to tag the bottom of the channel. That's when you go from Tesla back into MicroStrategy. Sometimes we don't go all the way to the top. We only go back to the middle. So maybe at the middle, you go from MicroStrategy back into Tesla here. It all depends. If you're keeping your head out the window, where do you believe each of the assets are going to go in the next few months? Because that's about the cadence that you're getting here with this MicroStrategy Tesla pair on a 4-hour chart. Sorry, I almost lost my voice there. On a 4-hour chart, you're getting that kind of cadence of about every 2 to 4 to 6 weeks. You're getting some kind of trade coming your way. And for me, that's plenty of trading to make this thing go skyrocket over the time frame. All right, guys, if you want to see more content like this, make sure you like this video. Comment below. Let me know. What'd you like best? What would you like to see more of? What did you learn today? And make sure you're subscribed to this channel so you don't miss any of the videos that I put out or that others put out like mine so that you can continue increasing your financial literacy along the way. Book a course with me. You'll learn TA inside and out, technical analysis, TradingView, the Invest Answers suite of indicators, all of those things and more in my TradingView and technical analysis course. In my understanding options course, we'll go over everything from buying and selling calls and puts to combining them into more advanced strategies to hedge your positions, to leverage your positions. And of course, I do individual appointments, all at gdenarocoaching.com. Here are just a few of the people that have had significant success with the systems that I've been teaching. And finally, thank you for tuning in today, guys. This is G Dinero. I'm helping you increase your financial literacy to help put you and your family on that path to financial freedom. Take care, and we'll see you next time.